Surprise, motherfucker.
Yes, guys, welcome to the most massive show on Cardiff City World. Nay, is Podcast Nation. This is your Flower Hour. I am Rob. I am joined with the hung of Hangard, Mr. Matthew Angel. How the devil are you doing, my friend?
Good evening, buddy. A little bit earlier in the week than normal, but I am very well, mate. Very well indeed.
Splendid news. So we got a bit of a special one tonight, guys. So first half hour, excuse me. We're going to do a bit of a preview of the upcoming Cardiff game tomorrow evening. And then we have a special...
What do you mean we are going to do a bit of a preview? How much blinking research have you done into QPR tomorrow night? Let's be honest about it.
I'm not very well. So shut your face. Shut your face, you.
You've
so
never been very well, you haven't.
Matthew is going to do a preview for the first half hour of the show. And I'm delighted to announce that, as you may well have seen on our social media pages, that we are reunited with Stuart Fleetwood is going to be joining us for the second half hour. And I can't be more excited about it because those of you who watched his first time around, such a very interesting watch, very knowledgeable guy. So we'll be talking about himself. Get to ask some questions about himself and his career, and I want to talk about how his management career is going as we come into Christmas period as well. So, really, very much looking forward to that.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how his season's going. Really, obviously, I know you and Rhys covered quite a lot with him last time, so obviously, I don't suppose we need to go and ask questions again, do you? I suppose, but it'd be nice to see how his season's going. Etc. and what is how his team is doing really.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we did cover a lot last time round, but look, at the end of the day, those who didn't catch us last time around, feel free to ask him anything. He's a very open book. Fleet says he's a very, very open guy and
speaks well as well, doesn't he?
Oh, he's very much so. He loves his grassroots. He loves Cardiff, and I can't wait for it. So, yeah, any questions or anything like that, please don't hesitate to chuck them in. Don't worry if you think that they may have been asked before. It doesn't matter. We'll still put them to him because, like I said, he won't get bored of it in the slightest. Neither will I or Ainge, so for that matter. So, make sure you get those comments in when he does eventually join us. So, jumping straight into them, my friend.
Do you want to jump straight into it, or do you want to have a quick... Obviously, I knew I had a chat with Rhys on Wednesday, but I thought I'd just get your opinions on Saturday, really. Obviously,
okay.
I haven't seen you to discuss the Sheffield Wednesday game. So just, obviously, people would have watched the most popular show on a Saturday. The 1927
that was said was Saturday. That's it.
Well,
yeah.
I've got to be impartial now, haven't I? I'm spreading
you know what side your bread is buttered, boy.
I'm spreading the love over 2 nights, but I really enjoy doing both. To be honest, I do enjoy it. But yeah, so what's obviously a couple of days have gone since Saturday. What was your overall thoughts on the performance and obviously the point on the road?
I think that's a good end point there. It's a point on the road. We take it as a point. Look, let's be real. The conditions weren't great. They were terrible. The weather wasn't the best at all. You could tell by so many misplaced passes more than normal when you're watching Cardiff. it wasn't great at all. I think it was, let's be real, it was two below average teams played on the weekend. Neither team I don't think looked anything special at all. It still frustrates the hell out of me that we're still playing Matey and Kanga. I can't fathom a reason why those two guys are still getting game time. Especially, I got quite excited to the fact that Reindorf wasn't included in the 21s, but then I found out that he wasn't able to play for either. He wasn't very well or whatever it was. He picked them or not. I'm not too sure. You may be able to drop some more insight if you've viewed anything else since. So part of me was expecting to go with Reindorf at some stage. Me as I was in the 21s. I just don't know what this lad needs to do apart from get injured to not play.
Yeah.
I
think Rhys has come out in one of the press conferences a couple of weeks back now before the international break, and he's been quite open and honest and said he doesn't think he's ready yet. He's still got lots to learn, which, what is he, 18, 19? It's quite obvious to most people that he's still going to have a lot to learn. And that step up from the 23s to being able to, boss the line at the championship club, that step up is going to be gigantic, isn't it? But I think what fans are frustrated is the fact that, when we lose Callum Robinson or Callum Robinson goes off, we've got nobody coming off the bench who's hungry, who is going to put a shift in, who's going to run after and chase. And I think that's what's frustrating for me as a fan then, is that I want somebody coming on, chomping at the bit to do it. Like I said, I have no doubt that he's got plenty to work on and he's still learning and he's still developing. An 18, 19-year-old kid is going to be that. But I think what the Cardiff fans will forgive, if he puts the ball in row's head 3 times, is the fact that if he's busting his balls and he's chasing and he's closing down, he's pressing, they'll kind of forgive that if they can see he's putting in some kind of effort. And we just don't seem to be getting that off other people who are playing in a similar position as him then.
100%. I think we touched upon this at the start of the season, mate, when he first emerged, and even other players as well, that Cardiff fans, yes, they're a passionate bunch, but we love a trier. We absolutely love a trier. And if someone absolutely busts their balls and does everything they possibly can whilst wearing that shirt, then you can forgive them if there's no end product at times, And the thing is, I think that what's getting a lot of people's backs up is I don't like singling out players. I know some may argue I did it all last season with Bowler, but that's a different story altogether. But like with Kanga, for example, like there's not even that much. I don't see that oomph in him, the determination to close down and stuff. I know he's obviously got a bit more bulk to him than some of the lads, and he is obviously a big boy, but he's just such an all-fart, no-poo player. Like, he's just built like a brick poo house, but like he's just doing nothing with it. If he can't finish, I'd expect him to just close people down and block the channels off, etc. But he's not even doing that. And same for Matey. Yes, Matey runs a bit more, but he's the same, mate. And they're not good enough. They're not good enough, unfortunately.
What was your thoughts on Matey coming off and throwing a paddy?
Oh, mate, like it's embarrassing. I say that. Like, I like to see passion. Don't get me wrong, but there's a way about doing it as well, and yeah. I just really hope he sees some sense and looks at an alternative, but I don't see it happening. I think he's clinging on to wait until Atete's back, and he'll be the backup then instead. That's the reality of it, I think, personally. As soon as Atete is fit, he'll be the alternative option. I never thought I'd say it, I'd choose a bloody take a Tete right now over Kanga and Matty as well, personally.
Yeah, I was just looking forward to a Tete coming back and seeing how much of a difference having Rhys in charge would have made on his performance. Because let's be honest, having him in charge has boosted a lot of other people's confidence within the squad, and their performances have stepped up a couple of gears. Then, shall we say?
Yeah.
Let's be honest, they need to go up a couple more gears. But I think I would just like to see if there's any difference in him. Be interesting to see if he can stay on his feet a little bit more. And yeah, just at the end of the day, he's a Cardiff City player. If he's putting the shirt on, get out there, let's support him. And yeah, just interesting to see what happens. But Jonathan had just put in there now. Atete's had another setback, and that's the frustrating thing for me. We're having a lot of players injured. We'll come on to that now in the preview for tomorrow, because I've highlighted the ones we've still got injured and possible injuries as well. I don't know what's happening behind closed doors with the fitness side of it, but we're having players injured, and then that's all we seem to be hearing is that Isaac Davis have had a setback. Kian Atete have had another setback. Aaron Ramsey had another setback.
Yeah.
So what's going on? Are we pushing them too soon? Something's got to be looked at behind closed doors as to why they keep getting setbacks all the time. Surely, you can understand the odd 1 year or there, but for picking on those three in general, then for all three of them to have a setback, and that could make or break a club in our positions. That could make or break this season, really. Having three key players out injured is a scary time, but to be honest, like our squad, and I think the substitutions and his tactics, perhaps that's something we'll talk about again, but having that strength and depth is really important in the Championship, and we just haven't had it. We haven't had no game changers being able to come off the bench and think, right, even if he comes on for 10, 15 minutes, if he's not fully fit, potentially he could do something to make a difference. But we just haven't got that. We just haven't got it.
No.
So it'll be interesting to see what side he goes up to tomorrow.
I know, and you say about the setbacks and stuff, and I'm sure Darlin was the same as well. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure he had I know he wasn't out for too long compared to the others, but I'm sure he suffered the same thing. I'm sure he had a setback also. I was laughing along the way with that, mate, because I read Rhys David Evans' comment, Mate Kanga Tete, just try and take a bird home at the end of the night. It's only a few ones left.
I'm sure he've used that one before, man. He needs to get on Google now and start getting some more jokes. Come on, Rhys, sort it
out. Paul says somewhere along the lines, Kanga's lost his way. He has to go back to his parent club come Jan. Yeah, 100%. It's unfortunate, but I think we can get a lot better. But that's in the transfer committee. We'll let funds go. Johnny Davis says, has Vincent Tan cut the budget on the team like he has with the coaches? Yeah.
I don't know, do. Like I said, we don't know what's going on.
We laugh at that, but like you never know. Like anything is possible.
Yeah.
Lewis says,
I'm with Lewis there. That's, I think, like I said, fans are passionate. We just want to see the team do well. And we know he's going to come on and he's going to try and he's going to put a shift in. So, yeah, I fully agree with Lewis's comments.
Spot on, mate. 100%, Lou. Like, that's what we want. It's just a tryer. Like, just closing the ball down. Run until your heels hurt, like. And then Rhys follows up nicely as well. 2 left backs on the bench. A left winger playing left back and not a single game changer on the pitch. Like, that's just... When we seen that team on the weekend, it just blew my mind. Like, why would you... The fact you got 2 left backs on the bench, a left mid at left back, and that's it.
What kind of message does it send out to the left backs in the squad? That's what I want to know. What's Joel Bagan got to be thinking? What's Jamilu Collins got to be thinking? Just, I don't know what conversations happen behind closed doors and things, but it'd be interesting to be a fly on the wall when he's having those conversations with those players. Right, you're on the bench today because this, that, and the other. yeah, just I'd love to be a fly on the wall sometimes. Right, well, should we?
Yeah, 2 seconds. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Jamal Collins, since he's come back fit and everything, he hasn't. I mean, appearance, have he? Or am I mistaken?
No, I don't think we've seen him yet,
but so what's that? Like, what's the point? Like, he obviously doesn't favour him. Why have him on the bench then? Like, I just don't get it. Like, I know, there's a reason why he's a manager, and I'm just some middle-aged douchebag just talking to you wonderful people on a Tuesday afternoon, but I can't get my head around it. And maybe it's just something we can have a chat with Fleets about as well, because I know he follows Cardiff still. But yeah. So moving on, tomorrow night, go on, Mr. Statics, Mr. Statistician.
Yeah, QPR, obviously QPR bottom of the league. They've won one game in 16, I think we was having a quick chat about before. Yeah. But that goes out to the window on the day, doesn't it? How many teams have we had come to Cardiff and you think they haven't won in 6 games? We should beat these quite convincingly, and then before you know it, we've lost the game. Like, do you know what I mean? So I think you can look at that form and take it with a pinch of salt, if I'm completely honest. Because for me, tomorrow is a 6-pointer. I think we're 5 points behind them at the moment.
Yeah.
So, if we can win the game, obviously with 8 points in front of them. If not, we're only, a point then. So it's a massive game tomorrow, and we've got to take 3 points. Obviously, they're coming into the game. I know we've had a couple of defeats. So if we look back at the last 6 games for both clubs, I think Queen's Park Rangers have drawn 4 out of the last 6, and they've lost 2, whereas we've won 2, drawn 2, and lost 2. So it'll be interesting. They had a good point on the weekend. I think they come from behind. They were at home against Stoke.
Yeah.
They come from behind. So that's a good, I think it'll be a similar game to Stoke. I think they'll come with the same type of tactical approach as what they would have for Stoke, really, to be honest. Not that I have seen much of Stoke this year, so you'll have to excuse me. I might be barking up the wrong tree. But I think they'll expect a physical game. And I think they'll do all they can to upset the apple cart type of thing. So it's not going to be an easy game. As I mentioned earlier, we've still got some injuries. And those injuries are still to key players: Rambo, Isaac Davis, Kiana Tete, Tasunda, or however you pronounce his name.
Yeah, I think that's right.
There's still rumours as well that Callum Chambers and El Ghazi are not fit, so they probably won't be up for selection. I haven't heard anything about Callum Robinson. He seemed to come through the game all right on Saturday.
Yeah.
So hopefully that extra day, rather than playing Saturday, Tuesday, he's had an extra day to recover. So, if we can get 70 minutes out of him again tomorrow and then bring him off type of thing and perhaps get a couple of goals out of him, take him off after 65, 70 minutes, I'd be kind of happy with that because, we got another important away game on Saturday up in Coventry, which is another winnable game because, they're not in great form either.
Yeah, well, that's it, mate. I've been looking at, let's say, the fixtures, the results of QPR have had. They've played some decent teams of late. And it's wild because, they've drawn with Cov, they've drawn away at Burnley, drawn at home to Sunderland, so big hitters. But then, they've gone and lost at home to Hull, they've lost at home to Portsmouth. So,
Loftus Road. I like Loftus Road because again, it reminds me a little bit of Ninian Park, I suppose, because it's a stadium where it's very enclosed. It's very, the fans are close to the pitch. I think if you, I don't know what their attendances are like at home, but if you can get a good support there,
didn't you
research that? It is, I'd imagine it's quite not daunting, then, shall I say, but to a certain aspect, I suppose. Daunting for some teams to go there if as long as they got good support. I don't know what their attendances are like, if I'm completely honest. But
why didn't you research that?
Well, I haven't got time, Robert, have I? I got a full-time job, 3 kids. Do you know what it's like?
No, that's right, bud. No, you're absolutely right, and not a worrying, but like that's right. No, the positive thing, rather, I should say, it looks like QPR seem to be picking up more points away from home than they do at home. In fairness, so
Yeah, it won't be an easy game tomorrow, but I was looking at their injuries and things as well, because obviously I know that's something Si does. I know we don't normally do the previews and things, but
no,
he kind of he've asked us to bail him out again. So Si,
shock.
no, it's all teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah.
But looking at theirs, and they got some of their big players are injured. That you've got that Michael Frey, I think he's their top goal scorer. Dembele's out injured. Clark Salter, Jack Colback. You'll have to excuse the pronunciation of this one. Elias Che.
Yeah, he's quality. Is he injured?
So, there's 5 decent players there who are missing for them as well. So I think Michael Frey. Go on, sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, mate, Elias Che is an interesting one. He's a very good little footballer, he is. So the fact that he's out, plays like a number 10 for him. Makes the ball move. Most stuff goes through him when QPR is doing well. So that's a good one for him to be missing. I think there's a comment here from Lewis. They got a 34-year-old centre half for QPR. It's what's his name? I can't think. Where's he gone?
I'm not sure. I know they've got a very young centre half. I believe he was out with Bayern Munich and he's been back and forth on loan a couple of different clubs. Something Madison, his name is. He's only 21, and he had a really good performance against Stoke on the weekend. I think they rated him 7 point something. His match rating was. So, but I think that was one of his first games. So it'll be interesting to see if he gets the nod again. I think he's only a 21-year-old. So it'll be interesting to see if he gets the nod again. And again, a young 21-year-old just wants to go out his first opportunity, or might be one of his first away games. He's obviously got a bit about him if he's been through the Bayern Munich setup and things. So yeah. That's a live score now. It's in Norwich and Plymouth 5-1.
It's not even half time yet, is it?
Yeah, it's 25 past 9, Robert.
So yeah, Steve Cook's the one that Lewis was mentioning there. Yeah, he's been there, done it, but like he mentioned, having someone with pace like a Reindorf or whatever run at him, like he's got all the experience in the world, but he ain't able to compete with the speed of a young kid. Like I don't think personally. Yes, Alex, mate, how you doing? You okay?
I've picked 2 players then from QPR because I know Si likes to pick a player, don't he, and like a player watch type of thing. So the 2 players I've picked is 2. I think they're both like defensive midfielders, really, and I've picked these because Sam Field and Jonathan Varane. You'll have to excuse the pronunciation. And I've picked them because they're probably going to be their midfield. And the reason I picked them was if we can keep them quiet, and if our, Alex Robertson, David Turnbull, who I think will probably start there, if they can be more creative and keep them too quiet, I think it'll allow us to be able to play the football we want to play, especially at home as well. So that's the kind of 2 players I picked out for them. Whether or not it'll be interesting to see how he picks this team tomorrow. I think he'd probably go Robertson and Turnbull, but I wouldn't be surprised if he checks Seal back in the mix.
Yeah, and what I was going to say was another one you've got to be wary of with QPR is Big Lyndon Dykes as well, centre forward. I just hope that he doesn't get. If Chambers is playing, that's a game that maybe Darlin should be playing because he's a bigger and stronger lad, because he's a big boy, Lyndon Dykes is, and he will cause some issues. He's a number 9 who can cause damage, unlike Kanga. Thanks to the League One.
What's that?
John Fadeo says Dykes is in League One. I thought he was still playing for QPR. Is he not?
I don't think he was. No, when you mentioned that, then I didn't see his name when I was researching him.
Apologies. Sorry. Well, never mind then. Fuck him then. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, we haven't got to worry about him tomorrow. He's all right.
Yeah, screw him. Sorry, guys. I thought he was still at QPR. I do apologise.
How silly do you feel now? Well done, John. Go on, John.
I don't care, to be honest with you. It is what it is, isn't it?
No, you're right. But again, I very rare. It's only when Si asks me to look at other teams and that. Even if I hadn't done this tonight, I wouldn't have even dreamt of even looking at the QPR team. I wouldn't have a clue. I got a job to remember who plays for Cardiff, let alone who plays for other teams. So, yeah, you haven't got to worry there. He's at Birmingham now, apparently.
I think they're still sacked.
They added Shrewsbury only because Gareth Ainsworth is at Shrewsbury now, and they beat Birmingham over the weekend, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good old Gareth Ainsworth with his long curly hair.
Quick prediction before we have our special guest join us.
3-1 Cardiff.
Scorers?
I'm not going to worry too much about scorers, but I did want to go through the starting lineup, but perhaps we can do that towards the end.
Yeah, no problem.
I think
2-0.
Before Stuart jumps in, I think the only difference I would pick from the starting side from the weekend is that I would bring Joel Bagan in at left back. I'd put O'Dowda on the left wing back, Tanner on the right, and then obviously you've got Caldwell and Robinson playing up front, and obviously perhaps Caldwell just in behind type of thing with that bit of free roll.
2-0. I go 2-0, Dimmy, and see how to score. And on that note, please all welcome Mr. Stuart Fleetwood. How are you doing, mate?
Hi guys, you okay?
Really good to see you, bud. How's things? You good?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. All the kids are in bed, so a bit of free time. All good.
Our beard's coming on nice, ready for December now, Fleets.
To be fair, a couple more years, and then I reckon I can get a little part-time job as a Santa. I reckon at Christmas. So the greys are coming through now, mate. Yeah.
I'll send you my belly down, and you'll be all right then.
Yeah, no problem.
Wicked. Thank you so much for joining us, mate. Do appreciate it. Obviously, you've joined us before, not Angel, but you've joined myself and Rhys previously, and as you know, we absolutely loved it. So wanted to bring you back to talk about, well, a few people who haven't seen you before on you, and talk about how's it going with you in management, how's your season going so far, etc., and go from there if that's all right, mate. Yeah,
of course, mate, no problem.
Before I dive into that, though, did you watch the Welsh Nationals football a couple of weekends ago?
Yeah, I didn't get to watch them live, but we caught up on all the highlights. Obviously, checking the scores as you go, and then obviously listen some fantastic results. It looks like they've really turned a corner under Bellamy, who was actually. He was in the first team when I was in the 21s. So obviously, we used to travel sort of to the same away games as each other because we'd have the same sort of groups as them. I don't think anybody realised what a good coach he is. Everything that I've heard, from sort of Welsh FAW and people in and around the system is that he's fantastic. I think before Pagey got the job, I think he might have got in for the job then. And apparently his presentation was unreal, and everybody sort of spoke so highly of him. And personally, I think he's done it the right way. He's gone through a club at Burnley, worked in the company, and now he's his own man, his own manager. And he's got a really calm style, which I don't think anybody would have predicted from Craig. But it's fantastic, and it looks like he's putting his own stamp on the Welsh team, and it's looking bright.
Is a really fascinating thing for me. Obviously, Bellamy is quite well known. He's been at lots of different clubs and worked under some really high-profile managers. Is that something you think you've developed over the years, Fleets, that you've taken little bits from one person, a couple of bits from somebody else, and kind of tried to put your spin on things?
Yeah, I think so. I think every sort of player that comes out of the game and then goes into coaching has to do that. You have to, sort of build on your past experiences, and it's probably where players who get coaching roles have a bit more of an advantage than the average Joe, because they've worked under so many different coaches and managers and styles, and that you can sort of pick the good bits and pick the bad bits. Listen, Craig Bellamy's had an elite career compared to mine. He's had like I said, some unbelievable clubs, and he's worked with some top managers. So I think he's probably going to take all of that on board, and he's just sort of sat in the background and been an assistant and been, a number 2, a number 3, a coach, and he's just picked up all the good bits and probably dismissed the bits that he wouldn't like, but also putting his own stamp on things as well. But like I mentioned, I think his calmness and his persona has probably really surprised everyone. And I think he's just got that emotional connection to everyone as well. Being a Welshman, having a first job as a number 1 as an international coach is a difficult thing to do. But he's taken it in his stride, and he's really open and honest, and that's something that I try and do as a manager myself. And it's really endearing to sort of watch his interviews, and he gets quite emotional when he talks about it, about his about being in that number 1 role. And like I said, they've had a fantastic start under him.
Yeah, definitely. We was lucky enough. Sai, who's the founder, or should we say the boss man of the channel and the things, he put on a live event, and obviously Bellamy it was about a week after Bellamy was announced. Rob, was it? I think.
Yeah, it was very close to it.
Yeah, and he come out and he done like a Q&A thing, and it was brilliant. And the way he spoke that night, I think people in the crowd, if he would have asked him to run through a brick wall, I think we probably would have, type of thing. So, I think you need to have somebody like that, so players will run through a brick wall. If he asks you to do something, you're going to do it.
Yeah, I think he automatically gets the respect of everybody because of what he's done in the game as a player. I think he was probably underrated as a player, even with the moves he had and the teams he played for and the goals he scored. Everything. I never really got to watch him live. Probably saw him in a few games live, but never got to play against him or anything. But everything I hear is that it's just his attitude and his detail to everything. It was so high, and his standards were so high that you automatically get the respect of everybody because of what he's done as a player. So that's your first hurdle sort of out the way when you go in as a new coach. You're trying to get the players on board. But I'm guessing that he'll be still doing demos and doing things, and players will be thinking, what a player this guy was. So like I said, he gets that respect first and foremost. And like I said, the main thing for me is the honesty with players. And if you can tell them what you think, they may not agree, but you're being honest with it. Again, it just demands respect. And it's what every player would want to have. It's what I wanted when I was a player, and it's what I try and put over as a coach now myself as well.
And do you think, you mentioned about the underestimated side of things and underappreciated potentially, do you think, I'm not trying to start a Wales v England sort of thing, for example, but like if he was English, do you think he would have been more appreciative and more highly rated amongst his peers, etc.?
Yeah, it's a tough one, really. Like you look at sort of players of his generation, like your Lampards, your Gerrards, Rooney now at Plymouth, who I think they've
tonight.
Yeah, I think they've just gone the wrong way about it in terms of they've been fast tracked through the system. Now, listen, the FA and the FAW are very different governing bodies. The FAW is so accredited now. You look at the managers that have come through that system and what they've gone on to do. It's a fantastic course and a governing body that's really picked up some momentum. And there's no sort of real fast track system. You look at all the A licenses and the B licenses. You've got elite players with coaches from sort of the Welsh Premier all in the same room, and it's very sort of not dumbed down, but it's really interactive. Everybody's on the same script. It's there's no egos or anything like that. Whereas I think you look at your Lampards and your Gerrards, for example. I use those two. Fast track through the FA, get big jobs straight away. And it's almost that they've sort of been taught 5-6 years worth of experience in down to a year. They're destined to fail because they don't know everything. They haven't learned everything. And it's not their fault, but I just feel with the FA that players get pushed through a little bit too early to go into coaching roles, get a big job, and then go, I'm in the limelight, what do I do? Whereas, like you said, Bellamy's gone in, he's done it the right way. He's learned his trade by going in as a coach, going in as assistant. Obviously, nearly ended up going to Bayern Munich, I think, with Vincent Kompany. And then he's got a big job on the back of himself as well. So, yeah, I think he's done it the right way. He's done his time. And like I said, now it's his time to be the main man.
Yeah. This comment there from Rhys says a lot when the best players like Kompany, etc., said his standards were outstanding and players respected him as he was a leader without being given the armband.
Yeah, I think, I think he just demands standards. He's probably quite, like I said, misunderstood as a player, because I think that he was really, obviously people will just see the stories that you read in the headlines and Bellamy's this and Bellamy's that. But I just think his standards were so high that if anybody wasn't on it, he'd let him know. And I think back in that era, and the era that I came from, you got told, straight away by players that.
And that's the way it should be. That's the way it should be.
And it's dying out of the game a little bit. Everyone's a little bit sensitive nowadays, and you have to coach, thinking about how people are going to feel after what you say to them. But back in those days, it didn't exist. And, you got told, straight, and people will take that two different ways. Everybody's seen the video of Vincent Kompany at Burnley, sort of with Good Johnson, going. Yeah. And listen, that was, I think every player from my era has looked at that and hasn't batted an eyelid, because that used to happen daily. It used to happen daily. It was, the manager would say something, the players would come back and it would go off. And then the next day you just shake hands and crack on with training. So everybody was so shocked by it, apart from people of a certain generation, I think.
There's just so much more media around even like training and things nowadays, don't it? And things get picked up on cameras, and before you know it, it's all over social media, and Sky Sports News are running a story on it. Like, perhaps 15, 20 years ago, that exposure to highlight things like that probably wouldn't have been around as much.
Yeah, exactly that. And we were only talking about it the other day. And listen, I'll say to my players, some of the stories and the things we used to get up to when we were players, and we were probably very lucky that there weren't camera phones around at that time, because there could have been some issues. But listen, that was part of it. You enjoyed yourself off the pitch, but then on the pitch, everything sort of stayed in house. You look at little things now where you see that teams are getting leaked out to the media or the press, and that's obviously coming from a player, and it's coming from inside your group. So it's almost like there's like an ego around everything at the moment, and if a player's not playing or if he's not in the team, he's going to leak the team to the press. And there's no hiding place anymore. And people say that characters are dying out of the game now, and it's because of that. Everybody's media trained, everybody's interviews are exactly the same. You've probably got your Jack Grealish and your Peter Crouch back in the day, and the interviews where you actually wanted to watch because they had a bit of personality, whereas that's dying out the game a little bit now because of all the social media activity, and you literally cannot say anything or do anything out of line, because it will come back to bite you, like I said, years down the line.
Did you have to be media trained, like your group and things like that at the time, or was that not really a thing then?
Sorry, say that again, mate. Sorry, 2 seconds.
Sorry, was when you were playing then, was that a thing for you where you had to be media trained, etc.?
Not so much when I played. It was obviously the attention to the games at that time. I think it was literally shown on a Sunday night on EFL, highlights or whatever, and there'd be, local interviews or papers or something like that. But it wasn't really, it wasn't the exposure wasn't as big. So, we didn't really have to do it. We did a little bit of media training when I did the A license, and it was more things about sitting in front of a camera, and if you've got a press officer at your club, or if a journalist wants to try and get something out of you, how do you sort of dodge it and stuff like that? So, I think it was easier for me being a player because I've done interviews, I've sat in front of a camera, I feel like I can talk quite well. So I think if you've got a bit of personality about you, you can get around it. You look at the top managers now, they're very good at dodging questions, especially on transfer deadline day.
They're all politicians, aren't they?
Yeah, but everybody's so efficient at what they do now that there's never going to be any sort of real leak. The only other time is if they say something out of context, or, if it's lost in translation, for example, from the foreign managers. But then they usually try and get around that somehow and do another interview and clear it up, whatever way they can. So I think all players are media trained now. You only have to go through social media, and every player's tweet or Instagram message is exactly the same. It's like a copy and paste, isn't it? And I think was it a few years ago? Was it Victor and Ichibi a few years ago where I think somebody had sent him a message to put on Instagram, and he actually just copied that message and put it on Instagram, and it was like say something like "good game, we move on to the next one" or something like that. But it's very very similar now. And like I said,
any stories like that back in your day where like it's happened? I haven't played at a great level of rugby, but I can always remember boys would pretend they'd phone one of the other boys up and pretend to be from a club a couple of divisions higher, phoning up to invite them to training. Any stories like that over the years, Fleet?
Yeah, we used to, like I said, used to do it all the time. I think it was back in the day. What did you have to pay? It was like 131, when it before you rang a number and a private call or whatever. And we used to do just stupid stuff at the hotel and like ring someone's room and tell them that dinner was half an hour delayed. And then they'd obviously turn up late, and then everyone had eaten and they had to eat on their own, and just stupid stuff really. But yeah, we used to ring a few lads here and there. Like I said, it used to go on, but nowadays it's, like I said, those sort of real characters. It's quite good for me at the moment because being in non-league, you still get a lot of characters. Like I said, we haven't got the exposure. They've got everyday lives and jobs outside of football, and so there are some good stories still knocking around in non-league. But I think the higher up you go, people are really aware of how they're seen through the media or their social media. Whereas, it's a tough one because people ask for more characters in the game. But then also, if you say anything out of turn, then it can go and ruin a whole career. You only have to look at the referee, obviously, coming out with this video recently that it's probably going to ruin his career. And it's 2 minutes of his life that he'll never get back. But like I said, you do have to be aware of how you represent yourself and everything that you stand for as well. So
his friends done him a dirty on that one, haven't he? I say friend, I use that term.
Yeah, it's scandalous, really. And listen, if you're getting recorded and you've got a phone in front of your face, he should know better. There's people with sympathy for him. I haven't got a lot of it really, because you can have that conversation in the pub and say, oh, yeah, I thought Klopp was a bit of an idiot or whatever. But when you've got a video in front of your face and a phone, you know what's going to be happening really. So, yeah, unfortunately, it looks like it's not going to go too well for him.
It's a really good point here from Rhys Evans, if I may. He said, what are your thoughts on the behind-the-scene documentary series? Excuse me, how would you feel having a film crew following and filming behind the scenes all the time?
Me and my sister were actually talking about this the other day. So obviously, the non-league level, you've got the Dorking Wanderers one with Mark White, who is a hell of a character. But I also feel like at the moment now that it's almost he has to do something outlandish or funny to create content. It's not so much about the football anymore. It's more about the circus around it. Listen, I've watched all the documentaries, on Prime with all the Prem teams, and listen, they're a fantastic insight. I don't think it makes too much of a difference to elite players because they've got cameras everywhere anyway. So, the club's own social media there'll be cameras every single day, and there are cameras when they walk into training now, and it's like everyone's got a wave at the camera, and there's constantly a camera in your face. So I don't think it'd be too intrusive at an elite club. Non-league level, I just feel that it's becoming a little bit too scripted now. I think when they start and it's really amateur, and you can see what the lads get up to and all that, but then you would be aware of it, and you'd play a character or you'd act up for a reason. Some of the things that me and my assistant would say to each other in the car on the way to the game or on the side of the pitch that no one can hear. Yeah, probably getting a lot of trouble. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't think I'd enjoy it at all, because I think you'd either have your guard up or you'd play a character. And like you said, you're just not being your authentic self. So, yeah, it's not something that I'd like.
I just want to swing back, if I may, to Mark White. You may not be able to say too much, I appreciate, but what's your thoughts on him? Because those who don't know, he's a coach in a non-league football team for Dorking. Very outspoken, and he's
loves
not
a coaching badge.
Yeah, he's not ashamed of saying it. So I just wondered what the general census is between you guys in the coaching.
I think. Listen, what he's done with the football club is phenomenal. I don't know if that will ever happen again. To literally start a team with your mates and then suddenly be in the conference and is remarkable. So he's obviously a very intelligent person because of what he's done business-wise, made his money out in business and then pumped it into a football club and managed to sustain it. Look how many millionaire owners go and buy football clubs and end up going bust. So, that's testament to his intelligence, I think, more than anything. In terms of a coach, I think he admits that he's got good coaches around him. So, I've listened to a lot of podcasts with him on and stuff, and he sort of says, I'm the man manager and, I will talk about tactics and stuff, but I've also got, licensed coaches around me, who will add detail here and there. And I think that's really important because it's, I think he makes the sort of the joke about, he's not driving a bus. He doesn't need a bus license. He's not, looking after anyone, but it's like anything. If you were to drive a bus or a car, you'd need a license. So it's just a way of learning things when you get your coaching badges and your licenses, and it's an accomplishment as well. These licenses aren't easy to get. It's taken me close to 6-7 years to get to my A license and be the level that I'm currently at now. So I think when you sort of talk down coaches that have put in the work to get it, and for him to sort of poo-poo it and be like, well, if I go in the league, I'm just not going to have one. Well, you'd have to have one. It's the rules. It's one of them. There'll probably be a loophole to it or whatever. But yeah, I think, listen, he's a great character. I enjoy listening to him. But like I said, it's the coaching side of it is really important. And I think you learn things that you wouldn't get if you didn't go on them. So
I just wish he'd find a cap that would actually fit on his head, not wear it off.
There's me with a cap on tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, boy. At least yours fits your head, though. So I want to talk about you and your team, if I may. Obviously, last time we spoke, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you're either in the middle of pre-season or your season was just started. So I just want to talk about how your season's going so far, really.
Yeah, obviously we had the great escape last year. We stayed up on the last day. We had to get to 49 points to keep us up. Me and my assistant went in when we were on 1 point, bottom of the league, lost 8 games. So it was a massive turnaround, and probably I think it was the biggest total to stay up, ever since the league's been running. So big achievement. And then we were almost in that bubble of the great escape, and then we get to pre-season, a lot of ins and outs of players, and sort of the first real pre-season I've had as a number one. I'm thinking I'm getting 2 months off, and I think my phone battery died every 5 minutes because of players ringing and having to sort everything out. Non-league level, we sort the budget out, we sort the players out, the kit, everything. We all go through us. So yeah, we had a poor start. We lost our first 3 games, and everybody was having a panic up, thinking that the same was going to happen again. Currently, we are 18 games into the season now, so we play a lot of games in a short period of time. Yeah. We're up to 7th in the league. We are 2 points off the playoffs, and yeah, I think we're about 4th in the form table at the moment. With the likes of the 3 teams above us, are Merthyr, Gloucester, and Tottenham, who are the big spenders of our division. So we're in very, very good company at the moment. We've had a very good turnaround recently. We're unbeaten in November. We've beaten some decent sides. So yeah, after a really shaky start where we lost the first 3 and it was all doom and gloom, we didn't panic. We sort of stuck to our principles, and we've sort of come through that now, and we're looking up rather than down. So I think if anybody had offered this, at this point of the season, where 3 games time would be halfway through, I think we'd have bitten your hand off. So yeah, it's come around nicely.
So what's the goal then for the end of the season? Is there an objective?
It's sort of a question without an answer. But we got together with the owner and the chairman and the CEO and the board, and after last year, they just wanted to stay in the division, which is rightly so. I think everybody aims for that sort of 40, 50 point mark, and then you see where you go. I think budget wise, we're sort of mid to lower of the table, probably bottom half in terms of budget. But I think we're punching above our weight at the moment. We play an attractive brand of football. We're very sort of possession dominant, if we can, if you like. So we score a lot of goals. We can see quite a few as well, but we score a lot. So I think if we can make a playoff,
sounds like the Flower.
Yeah, it's exciting. They get their money's worth, put it that way. But no, if we can, push for playoffs, come say the last 10 games of the season, I think we've overachieved massively. So yeah, that's my goal personally. Is I'd love to have a little sneak of the playoffs and try and get up there with some of the big boys. With their spending power and their fan base. It's chalk and cheese at the moment. With like I said, the likes of Merthyr get 1,500 at home. I think they're playing tonight actually. They're 1,500 at home. We're getting 250. So it's a big gulf. But yeah, if we can get in and around those playoffs by the end of the season, I think we've done a fantastic job.
There was sorry, Ains, I know I'm jumping all over this, but there was a question from Rhys David Evans earlier on regarding this. You said about previously a bit of tongue-in-cheek comment about, sorry, we've covered your face up now, mate, haven't we? Loan deals and things like that. So, given your football history, etc., do you get any pull in that regard about getting loan signings and things like that at all?
It was probably part of the reason I got the job, because of the Black Book.
You're on the show.
Yeah. So it was. Listen, when you go in for a job interview in football, they'll ask you, what sort of contacts you've got or what sort of pull you've got. You listen around this area. I've played for Forest Green, Cheltenham, Hereford, Cardiff. And I've got sort of contacts everywhere because of players I've played against and sort of players my age now coming into coaching roles, and we all keep in touch and stuff like that. So, Byron Anthony, who's in my youth team at Cardiff, he's the head of the Bristol Rovers Academy now. So there's pulls and ties everywhere. So yeah, that's all down to me as a non-league manager. I make the calls. I sort of speak to the clubs. I try and see what players we can get in. We've got a very good relationship with Swindon, obviously being down the road. So we've managed to get a few players in from Swindon on loan, and it's more of a stepping stone for sort of younger professionals. So first year, second year pros, not breaking into the first team yet. Can they come and play some competitive football on a decent pitch, playing an attractive brand, and that we'll look after them. So yeah, we've had some good success stories of lads coming in and then going into first team at Swindon and stuff. We've got a young lad that's from Swindon at the moment in our team. So yeah, it's a draw, I think, is in terms of having me as a manager, only because I know people and I can contact people. Wherein, like I said, if you get an average Joe in who's been in and around the leagues but hasn't been in that elite level where they can just ring, pick up the phone to someone who's, like I said, like a Byron Anthony at Bristol Rovers and give them a quick WhatsApp and say, you got any players for me? It's as simple as that. You literally, football is who you know. So it's really important to sort of keep everybody on side and try and send them a Christmas card when you can.
Working at the moment, if you're seventh in the division at the moment, Stu, and on the run you're on, let's hope it continues. And it's obviously the proof is in the pudding, is working at the moment. So long may it continue.
Thank you, mate. Cheers, top man.
Jeff says, can you ask Stuart if the Heart in Hand in Blunston is still open? Blunston, is that right?
The Heart in Hand. Heart in Hand. I think that's the pub that we went to last year. I think we lost the game on the Saturday, and I said, lads, see you Tuesday, 7:00. Bit of a stern face, and we ended up taking them out for some food and a few beers instead. So just a little surprise for them, and I made them pay for it, obviously, but it was nice to just mix it up. And we went to a lovely pub in Blunston in Swindon, and they set up a little marquee for us out the back, watched the football, had a few beers. And nice. and thankfully won on the Saturday after, so obviously worked.
Rhys then says, so on a note, if Swindon were in a championship, would it be harder to get players on loan, even though the standard would be better compared to them League Two, easier to get players in?
Yeah, I
So
think
with that barrier breakdown, then if Swindon was to go up through the divisions, then I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's a little. I think it's just more the caliber of player you get, or probably the age just goes down and down and down. So at the moment, Swindon being a League Two side, we can sort of get players 19, 20 on the fringes of the first team, who can come and just play some games for us. Whereas Championship sides is a bit more of a struggle because you're sort of looking like under 18s who are looking to get out and play competitive games. And obviously they've got a very sort of competitive under 21s or under 23s, whatever it is now. Obviously Darren Pearce being the manager there, so I speak to Percy now and again. So yeah, it's more difficult the higher up the club is, and obviously our catchment area, there aren't too many elite sides in and around us, so we have to sort of pick and choose who we can get. And obviously, if you go a little bit high in the sky, then you end up having to pay for these loan players as well, which unfortunately we're not in a position to do. So a lot of the loans we get in, we will sort the lads out a bit of petrol money and stuff like that, and their clubs will pay them obviously their normal wages, and we'll get them for free. So it's something it's quite difficult, but you try and sell the club the best way you can, and hopefully they enjoy their time and they go back, and then word of mouth starts to spread. So that's hopefully the idea behind it.
Have you ever had any problems with people's who come in on loan and attitudes and things like that, or do they try and buy into what the culture and the environment you're trying to build?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I've obviously had it as a manager this year where I try and do my homework on the player as well. So I'll ring around, other managers that he's maybe been to beforehand and just say, listen, what's he like as a lad? I quite enjoy the ones who people have had problems with. So I've got a player at my club at the moment, Michael Fernandez, who is way too good for our level. I signed him in the summer, and everyone said to me he's a bit of a bad egg. He's got a bit of an attitude problem, and I quite like that, and because I think I can change him. And down to the environment, he's our top goal scorer this year. He's on absolute fire. I wouldn't be surprised if he got a move pretty soon. And I quite enjoy those players because I feel like I can relate to them a little bit more. I can maybe give some advice, the things that I did that maybe they probably shouldn't do. So I try and do my homework on characters. They're all good footballers. That's it. It's whether they can buy into what we do. And I think the best thing is that you're very humbled when you go into non-league from a professional team, because lads are turning up from work. I've got plasterers covered in absolute mess coming in straight into training, and lads coming from work straight away, and it's all very, very different. Washing your own kit, and then we've got some serious characters in our dressing room as well. And a lot of the younger players haven't seen things like that in a professional. So little things like you said, when it's your birthday, they've got to bring cakes in, and we'll have cakes before training, and the pros are looking, thinking, shall I eat that donut before training and stuff like that. So it's all very, very down to earth, but also we try and do it as professionally as possible in terms of the way we play and things like that, so they feel at home. And I just think it's open and honest, and they get a lot more interaction from coaches and managers at our level.
Would you like Wilfred Kanga on loan? Sorry, Rob.
No, go on, you're all right.
There's questions that's been asked a couple of times. Wilfred Kanga, obviously he's been struggling at the moment for Cardiff. He's coming off the bench, and we currently got him on loan. So somebody asked, would you like him on loan?
He's not a miracle worker.
If you was the manager then in that situation whereby you brought a striker in, kind of fans are not against then, shall I say, but you can see that fans are getting frustrated with performances. He hasn't scored a goal yet. How do you manage that player?
I think it all comes down to, listen, every club's different. It may have been that the manager didn't want that player in. For example, if there's somebody, above him saying, "All right, get this player in, he's amazing," and he hasn't had a look at him and he's gone in blind, then sometimes that's half your problem. You've really got to know a player that you're trying to get in, and you've got to do your homework on it. In terms of it would all depend on, listen, what they're paying him. Because sometimes if you are paying a monthly fee for this loan player, then it's actually, it's cost effective to play him or not play him, or whatever the case may be. Loads of different factors come into it. every time you get a loan player in, you're hoping that they sort of hit the ground running. But it doesn't always work. It's a different environment. It's a different style of play. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. It's sort of a double-edged sword, because you can get a player in, and if they do really well, they're probably not going to be around for very long. So they're also taking a position away from another player that you might have in the team who's there on contract, let's say for 2-3 years, who's then going to be unhappy because they're not playing. And then by the time that your loan player moves on, your other player's not happy or not fit. And so there's loads of different factors in it. And you hope as a manager or a coach that you get a loan player in and they can sort of help your team, or they can add to your value or add to something. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You can end loan agreements a little bit sooner rather than later if needs be. But every club and the way they do business is completely different.
Sounds like something
Sorry, Rob. Go on.
I was just going to say, it sounds like something a transfer committee would do, but there we are. It's a different story altogether, and we won't talk about that.
Yeah, it's like with Rhys now in charge of Cardiff, I suppose it's difficult because obviously the players he's working with at the moment are the players that obviously Errol Bullock brought in. But I just find it weird that obviously Rhys worked under Bullock when he was there, but I think it's been well documented now and publicised that I don't think they see eye to eye. It was either Bullock's way or not at all type of thing. So I just wondered what your views were and how close you were to perhaps an assistant manager you may have or an assistant coach, and how much do you take, feedback from them and their point of view and things.
Yeah, it's a massively important relationship. I've been an assistant to someone who I didn't agree with in terms of philosophy, playing style. Wouldn't have been my way, put it that way. But you've got to remember that when you are an assistant or you are a coach, you're employed almost by that manager to help him to do his way, basically. So I think you've got to leave the ego at the door when you're learning or when you're underneath somebody, because there is a hierarchy. And we actually had we had an incident Saturday in our game. So me and my assistant, we live literally 2 minutes away from each other. We've known each other for about 4 or 5 years, coached together. He's now my assistant, and we're similar in our ways of thinking, but also we will tell each other yes or no. I want my assistant to want my job, if that makes sense. Yeah. I want him to be a number one. I want him to put me wrong. I want him to say when I'm wrong, or I want him to tell me. I don't want a yes man. It's very easy for someone to go, yeah, good idea, yeah, do that, And I decided to not have a keeper on the bench on Saturday. I decided to have 5 outfield on the bench, no problem, because you can make 5 subs at our level now, in 5 separate substitutions. So our games go on forever. And our keeper, dislocated his shoulder. So, and I literally said in our staff chat on the Friday night, I said, right, guys, I've made a decision on my head, be it. I'm not having a keeper on the bench. My assistant said, you're making a mistake. I said, yeah, maybe. I said, but I won't know until I do it. So end of. It happened and he just looked at me and I was like, I know. But luckily we were 3-1 up and there was only 20 minutes to go. So, we managed to win the game.
Didn't concede then.
Didn't concede, that's what I said. And the player I put on the bench had to go in goal and he kept a clean sheet. So I was right when I...
Did he get a bonus for keeping a clean sheet when he went on?
He's a defender. He gets a clean sheet bonus anyway. So he was trying to wangle it, and I was like, "Sorry, mate, they'd already scored before you went in." So unfortunately, I can't afford that one. But now my sister was telling me one thing. I had to make a decision. At the end of the day, it was my decision, and I came out in our media and sort of said I had to apologise to my assistant because it was probably the wrong call. But luckily, we were quite comfortable in the game. But it could have been a lot different. But again, I'm still learning as well. So
we've got to keep
question in the chat today, then, Rob. If we can put that one up on the screen, Rhys just put. Would you do it again, though?
Yeah,
have no keeper on the bench.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I have to on Saturday because I haven't got another goalkeeper yet.
Hey, so,
Rob can play in goals.
So my number 2 will obviously start now while my number 1's out. Luckily, my number 2's played about 5 or 6 games already this year, and he's been excellent. He's kept about 3 clean sheets. He's been great. So, it will probably bring up an under-18 goalkeeper to maybe be on the bench. But risk and reward, isn't it? So I'll wait and see. But yeah, we go away to Tottenham on Saturday, where Charlie Austin is now, and they've got some big hitters up there.
How's he doing in that league? Because I think they were due to play Merthyr.
Yeah, got called off, didn't it? Saturday. Yeah, so they've always been the front runners in our league. They missed out on the playoffs last year. They lost in the playoff final last year. A very good squad. Got some ex-pros playing there, obviously. So, but we tend to usually give them problems. We lost by the odd goal last year, and we drew them at home. So we travel there on Saturday. But my number 2 will be in goal, and I'll see how we get on.
I'll wait your call, Fleets.
Okay, mate. I'll let you know. I'll let you know.
I'm 6'4", 20 stone.
Waiting a while.
No problem. As long as you come out and catch some crosses, mate, I'm happy.
Hey, mate, I can catch anything, mate. I can catch a cold anything. One thing before we start to wrap up, I wanted to swing back to. You mentioned obviously about the young lad who's problematic at your club, but as in out there, but he's a very good footballer. What's the deal with transfers and things like that then? So someone like you said was too good necessarily for that level. What's the crack with that then?
So basically, not all non-league level players are either offered contract or non-contract. So the non-contracted players, they will be paid a weekly wage so long as they're in the squad. So if they're in the squad, they will get their weekly wage and their bonuses or whatever else. If the game's called off for any reason, they wouldn't get that weekly wage. So if the game's called off on a Saturday, they wouldn't get their money. But then we'll have a number of, so we've got about 6 contracted players in our squad of, let's say, 18 to 20. So we've got about 6 contracted players. They will get paid for 39 weeks of the year. Okay, so they'll get paid all the way through the football season. So as soon as the first league starts until the league finishes, they will get paid weekly regardless. So those contracted players, they can't move club to club unless there's a fee involved. So if anybody was to come in for, like I said, one of our players, Michael Fernandez, they would basically at our level, you put in a 7-day request. So their secretary would email our secretary and say, we want to put in 7 days for this player, blah, blah, blah. I can waive it if I want to as a manager and say, yeah, you're free to talk to the player, or they have to wait 7 days until they are able to talk to the player. I can't stop that after the 7 days. A non-contracted player can just move after that 7 days. If they want to go, they can go. But the contracted players, there would have to be a fee involved. And that is just down to the 2 clubs. So basically, you put the players on contract that you can't afford to lose, or that you feel have got value in them. So I've got a young lad who's 21 who I put on contract last year, who I feel can go and play higher. So he's got value in him. So if somebody were to come into him, I wouldn't want to lose him after 7 days. Somebody would have to pay a fee for him. So yeah, it's
things like sell-on clauses and things like that into thing.
No, nothing like that. We never really put like sort of a fee in there either. It's more of a how valuable are they to us. So, for example, a club came in for my left back in September in our league, and they were like, "How much do you want for him?" And he's my captain. I wouldn't let him go, so I just said 10 grand, and I knew they wouldn't be able to pay that. So so it's literally you just have to sort of cover yourself with the players that you can't afford to lose, or any players that you've got value. And obviously, a lot of the players want contracts because they're paid for 39 weeks of the year. And also the contracts cover them injury-wise as well. So they get paid full 6 weeks if they are injured, and then it's 4 weeks half pay. That's just the league rules. That's not our rules. That's the league rules now. So if they are contracted players, they would get a full 10 weeks of pay if they are out for longer than 10 weeks, which I think is important as well.
Wow. I absolutely love having you on, mate. Honestly, it's so good because it's so.
Well, I got a request. I think we should go up and watch Merthyr against Swindon, March the 8th. Cardiff City away at Sunderland. So I think we should have a day up in Merthyr with Fleets and watch his boys.
Well, all over it. We touched upon it last time we were on that we were going to do something, and because obviously Swindon's not a million miles away from us anyway, is it? You know, but
Merthyr's even closer. It's only 20 minutes.
Yeah, Merthyr's not far yet. Well, they beat us 5-1 at home, so we need a bit of payback, to be fair. So
I wanted to go up the Fleet, so I wanted to get the VIP treatment when I went up there. I won't get that away with life.
Well, we can offer you like a ham roll and a cup of tea, and that's about it, mate.
I'll take a pint of Carlin, please, Fleet.
Yeah, no problem. No worries.
No, 100%. I think that's a great shout to get the.
Yeah, 100%. That's always welcome. Yeah, no problem.
I'd love it. I'd love to do that. Because mate, you've been fantastic to me, to us, the channel, and I have no doubt we will speak again, even before we come and visit you and watch you play.
Yeah, part 3.
Part 3, I know, mate, because there's still so many things that I'm starting to feel run down now, but there's so many things that I still want to talk to you about now, so I do appreciate it. Thank you so much, mate.
Of course, no problem at all.
Without further ado, there's only one thing left to say, Mr. Fleet.
Up the flowers.
The day I die. Swing those hips around. Can't stop, roll back down, my lady. Show off,
I fucking love him.